The Phoenix Suns are cooking with Matt Ishbia and Brian Gregory at the helm here to start this offseason so far, and they have more moves up their sleeves as more news is related around the Bradley Beal situation that we're going to be diving into, exploring the possible buyout that is looming on the horizon. Also, one of the Suns signed it on a two-way contract, which frees up another roster spot, and with Bradley Beal getting bought out, what could that lead for the Suns as well, alongside a Summer League roster that is coming ready to play? We got all of that for you on this episode here on Suns Digest. I am Bruce Veliz, and you guys have been fantastic, showing your love and support here in the comments. Let me know all your main thoughts on this Suns team, and I really do appreciate all the love that you guys have been showing. So once again, let me know what you guys think on these latest updates revolving around this Suns team here down below in the comment section, because news has been flying left and right, and even though it does seem like it could be a boring off season at this point with not many moves happening around the league, I do expect a lot to really pick up with the Suns in these next couple of days. So without further ado, let's dive in and let's explore what the Suns have up their sleeves. Make sure to grab that snack and let's get into it. As this is coming to an end, and for many of you, you guys are going to be screaming high cheers as the Bradley Beal situation does look like it is going to be coming to an end with the Phoenix Suns and Bradley Beal. If we look at the latest from Mark Stein, Bradley Beal and his agent are looking to figure out how to handle a buyout situation if it does transpire between him and the Phoenix Suns. We broke this down yesterday as well, talking about how with teams like the Jazz buying out some contracts and even the Bucks buying out Damian Lillard, it seemed like Bradley Beal was not going to be a tradable asset tied with his no-trade clause and was going to have to be bought out by this Suns team. And with a lot of these teams already going and doing that work and showing the Suns that this can happen in this league, I think it's made the Suns feel a little bit more comfortable in pursuing this option instead of keeping Bradley Beal until next season. With the latest updates from Jake Fisher, who works on the Mark Stein Substack alongside Mark Stein, we can see that the Clippers, the Lakers, the Timberwolves, and the Bucks, alongside a team I think in the Nuggets I've seen, are all expected to show interest in Bradley Beal. And that would make sense, obviously, from a lot of fronts. The Clippers and the Lakers, both obviously in LA, not a far travel from Beal going over to a team just a couple hours away to the west over there. And with the Clippers, they just got rid of Norman Powell. It would make sense if they wanted to add a guy like Bradley Beal off the buyout market to replace that substantial scoring. The Lakers still need some scoring and shooters around Luka Doncic and LeBron James. I'm sure they'd be interested. The Timberwolves do seem like a team that, a top team in the West last year. Could be some interest similar with the Nuggets. And maybe the Bucks, a team that probably has the most value for a guy in Bradley Beal to be that secondary scorer with Damian Lillard now out for the season, now off the roster. They could look to add a guy like Bradley Beal to be that secondary scorer for Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Bradley Beal had some interest in going to the Bucks before he was traded to the Suns. Now, with all that being said, the Suns are still considering this option, and if the Suns do go through with the option of waiving Bradley Beal, not only will the Suns be now freed up a roster spot, but will drop below into out of the second apron into the first apron, which will give them a lot more flexibility. They'll have access not to the full non-tax mid-level exception, but partial non-tax mid-level exception, which is roughly around $5.7 million. They'll also be able to take more money back in trades. They'll also be able to aggregate salaries, so take contracts like a Richards and a Royce and put them together and trade them for someone else. And they'll also be able to send cash in trades. This amount of flexibility obviously does come with the pack-a-punch of holding a contract of Bradley Beal for the next 5 years to be spread out, which is going to be roughly, as my guy in John Voita explained, like a Grayson Allen-sized contract, around 16 to 17 million on the books for the Suns for multiple seasons. But as the tax cap rises and the percentage goes up, that number is going to continue to drop, and be a smaller percentage of the cap for the Suns' flexibility. So even though it might be a little bit more of a damper in this season or next year, this is a year or two where the Suns obviously are still trying to win and compete, but obviously aren't going to be those top teams, right? So you can take that little bit of a hit this year and next year, and in year 3, 4, and 5, when you're ready to take that next step and be a part of that top of the Western Conference, you then have obviously a cap hit, but it's not as major as it is with going in a team right now and trying to be a number one contender. And I think that's a little bit of a difference that you have to kind of gauge out of it. If not, they don't waive Bradley Beal and they keep Bradley Beal. Well, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, this is the roster they're probably stuck with, because with being in the second apron, makes it a lot harder to move guys like Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal, because once again, can't combine them together, and you have to trade them for salaries that either make equal or less value with being in the second apron. It's not like you could trade a guy like Grayson Allen's making $16 million and trade him for a guy making $22. That can't happen. So for the Suns, this, even if this is a little bit of a hinder for them, it allows them to, one, get out a shooting guard out of their logjam of rotation of shooting guards, get a player that unfortunately wants to be in Phoenix but just doesn't fit well in Phoenix with the direction of how the team is building and with what already roster spots they have. And also, it allows the Phoenix Suns, even if they are taking a little bit of a hit now on their salary cap, to have the flexibility to make other moves in free agency, because getting off Bradley Beal, that's going to open them a roster spot and allow them to bring someone in on free agency and be able to make some trades to bring in some other guys to really reset this team once again and work for that retool. And I think that's all the pluses that you need to look at with this. Obviously, there are some negatives, but for a guy in Bradley Beal who also wants to hoop and wants to be in a best situation where he can contend, clearly this year with Jalen Green, Grayson Allen, Devin Booker, Kobe Bryant, Colin Gillespie, and Bradley Beal, that's not going to be the roster to do so. And I do think for him, if he wants to have the best chance to be able to have a little bit of a rebound across the league to maybe brighten his light, not just only for the Phoenix Suns fans that have counted him out, but other people around the league that also have counted him out due to his injuries and his big-time contract, I think this is the next step for Bradley Beal to do that. So I want to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your guys' ultimate thoughts, and who do you think Bradley Beal is ultimately going to land with, that they are able to get off a Bradley Beal contract? Once again, that frees open a roster spot, and we'll dive into some players that they can potentially look at, but also allows them to have more flexibility on the trade market with those contracts, right? In a Nick Richards, a Royce O'Neal, a Grayson Allen, not only in just a one-for-one trade, but allowing them to combine those salaries to go and get either a better player for a better fit, or to go out and get multiple players that can bring those needs as well. So I really like this for the Phoenix Suns, even though it's a little bit of a hinder. Every move that the Phoenix Suns team isn't going to be perfect to get out of this hellhole, so you have to just accept that as facts. But next, let's dive in to what else could happen for the Phoenix Suns here. As with that being said, we do know that with Bradley Beal going, that there are some other possibilities that could really strike, and that could be leading to Malcolm Brogdon, as the Phoenix Suns are one team to show interest amongst many others in the veteran point guard, and for a team that still needs point guard in there alongside Colin Gillespie, guy Malcolm Brogdon would be key. He won 6th Man of the Year not too long ago, even though he's a guy who's dealt with injuries over the past of his career, and you could think, hey, the Suns don't need a guy that's going to be dealing with injuries over this course. If he's going to be playing backup point guard with Devin Booker starting there, or potentially even playing, sharing the back guard minutes with Colin Gillespie, who's also going to be commanding a little bit of a role for this Suns team, I don't think that that's bad, and I think that's going to only maybe preserve a guy, Malcolm Brogdon, to be more available for this Suns team. Now, also, there's some other names that could be mentioned regarding the Suns. Maybe you go out and get another wing, or maybe you go out and you look at some other point guard names, maybe a little bit more of a defensive one, or if you really like Chris Paul and you want him to come to the Phoenix Suns too. And I wouldn't be opposed to Chris Paul either, but I think Malcolm Brogdon is one to definitely keep an eye on if you're the Phoenix Suns. And then lastly, what is really cool about the Phoenix Suns is this. Summer League roster getting announced, which has got a guy in Boogie Ellis, which I really, really like, amongst many others. No Colin Gillespie this year, but Ryan Dunn, Oso Gordaro, Rasheer Fleming, Kobe Bryant, and Kamen Malawach will all be there alongside some other players that might catch your eye, like Moses Wood from last year. But also, we see that Kobe Bryant, the second-round pick one of the second-round picks for the Phoenix Suns, is signing a two-way deal, like C.J. Huntley. And they're the only two-ways on this roster. But that gives the Suns, once again, another roster spot that not many people were expecting to be there, wide open. So if they go out and they do this Bradley Beal sign-in wave, right, where they stretch him, buy him out, do whatever they need to do, that will then free up one roster spot alongside another, now that they have with Kobe Bryant being on a two-way deal, to have the Suns 2 roster spots. Then if they combine Grayson and Royce, then they can get 3 roster spots, and then that ultimately gives you more flexibility in free agency to bring in guys via that, or to in a trade down the line, to help out the Suns to address some of these needs still. And once we kind of see Bradley Beal get bought out, see these other guys kind of move out here like Grayson and Royce, have that kind of understanding, we'll look at some more potential names that the Suns could potentially bring to this team. But I just wanted to give you guys kind of the foundation of what the Suns ultimately could do here. But like I said, looking to move off Bradley Beal does seem to be the case from not only the Suns, but Bradley Beal at this point. So I would expect a buyout stretching wave soon over these next couple of days, probably tomorrow. Then that will leave the Suns with the obvious flexibility to pursue guys via trade or free agency to then fill out this roster and really make things understood of where this team is heading in this new direction with Jordan on. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Let me know what you guys are ultimately thinking about the Phoenix Suns and all these new moves. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day, and peace out, everyone.